Hi guys, and welcome to today's video where I am finally reviewing Arcadia's Earth Mix Arid substrate. Now, as you may know, talking about substrates and leopard geckos can be quite polarizing. Just on YouTube alone, from people posting videos doing natural tanks or just general setups for leopard geckos, there are very differing opinions, different items are used, so I can imagine people get very confused of what to do and what not to do. One thing I will say, and many of you already know this, is leopard geckos do not come from sandy deserts and they should not be on calci sand at all. I think we can all agree on that. Anyway, this substrate, so everyone's been wondering if this is the new, safest substrate for leopard geckos and other reptiles from arid regions. So I thought what I'll do today is put some information together about it, as well as telling you the pros and cons that I've found from using this. So firstly, a lot of people ask me why we supplement our animals in captivity, because in the wild the food isn't dusted, and that's because everything in their environment, right down to the soil, provides them with exactly what they need. For example, if you just watch my guinea pigs graze on grass, you'll notice they don't just eat the grass, they will also pick up bits of soil that's attached to the roots, and this is a similar thing that happens in the wild. It's very difficult to catch prey or graze without getting some kind of substrate mixed in with it. So basically, in short, in the wild, animals accidentally ingest a range of minerals that are necessary for life, and I'm sure sometimes they actively seek them out too. But anyway, that is what this substrate seeks to recreate. It's 70% earth mix and 30% certified organic Scottish volcanic rock mix. Now, volcanic rock contains more micro and macronutrients than any other rock, and it should be viewed as being part of a wild self-supplementation. So being all natural, in theory, it should be completely safe and not cause impaction at all. But of course, impaction can be caused by other things, including like lack of heating or hydration and so on. But in theory, this should be totally safe. Not only that, but it's meant to be great for plant growth and supporting custodians, as well as providing a nice suitable floor space for our pets. Now, for a few years now, I have been using Arcadia's Earth Mix for my crested gecko tanks and recently for my Chihuahua tank, and I have never had a problem. The plants grow very well, the custodians are very well supported, and never had a problem with my pets around it. But recently, Earth Mix Arid came out just around the time I wanted to make a natural leopard gecko tank, so how have I got on with this? Well, firstly, as soon as Ziggy moved in, she of course had a look around her tank because it was completely new, but she settled in very quickly, and I didn't see the typical behaviour I see when I first put in new eco-earth. So she wasn't climbing at the glass trying to get out, she wasn't digging everywhere, she just had a good look around and she found a spot to sleep in and she looked really comfy. So that was definitely a good thing to see. Some of the other pros I found about this product is obviously the substrate is meant to be safe, which is an incredibly important point to look for when choosing a substrate. It didn't cause any condensation on the walls of the tank, so even when you put it in or spray it down, it never released tons of it like you find with eco-earth when you first add it in. I also found that the 1 10-litre bag provided me with plenty of substrate, and I actually still had about a third of it left. As well as that, I think it's good that the substrate supports plant growth and custodians, because of course if you're going to be putting together a natural tank, that is pretty essential. Now, a quick side note, a lot of you guys have noticed I don't have a cleanup crew in Ziggy's tank. I am working on that. I had hoped that I would have something to move in around the same time that I got everything set up. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked out yet, and that is a downside to having a natural tank at the moment, is if you don't have custodians and your gecko goes to the toilet in a very awkward place, it's difficult to find, especially when you have rocks. So hopefully in the near future I will eventually get a cleanup crew. So what are the cons? So these aren't necessarily cons, they're just things I want to point out. Firstly, price. Obviously, a bag being around £10-ish, it can seem expensive, but when you look at bioactive substrates, they're usually around that price. And also they're more of an investment, because if you have everything set up, you get your plants, your custodians and everything, they create a mini ecosystem and you don't generally have to replace that substrate. So in the long run, it works out a lot cheaper. The next thing that bugged me, but this isn't just an issue with this substrate, it's just in general with any substrate that's designed for arid regions, is watering. So you can't just take some water and tip it on and expect it to just water your plants. I know that sounds really stupid, but basically when you put in the water, it almost runs across the top of the soil. If you use earth mix for your crested gecko tank or whatever, and you just tip that in, you know it soaks straight through. Whereas this, it sits on top. So the best way to water your plants is to mist down the tank maybe once or twice a day, and that is something I need to do, because I fully admit I don't do it, and that's probably why the grass in her tank has nearly died. And weirdly, one of her aloe plants, it didn't even dry out, it went mushy, which I've never seen a succulent do, but it basically just went mushy and disgusting. So I had to replace it, and I've put in a new succulent, so hopefully that will do well. But the watering is something that bugs me a little bit, but actually misting down the tank's probably a lot easier than, you know, getting a little syringe and trying to water each individual plant. The next con that actually does concern me a little bit is there are mini like volcanic rock bits in there. Now of course we've discussed this, they're 100% natural, they're beneficial, they are found in the wild. It's just, when you feel them, they are like rock hard, and some of them can be a little bit sharp, and I'm just so worried that what if my gecko does ingest it, what if something cuts them or gets stuck. And I have been assured that they are safe and they can digest them, but I think just the gecko mama in me is just like, better not hurt my babies. So let's hope not. I just wanted to point that out, because that is something like it's not just, what you get isn't just some sort of soil, just plain soil. There's a lot in there, and you can look at the texture and there's a lot going on, and that is something that occurs. And the final con, I guess, is the fact that obviously this is a new product, and with any new product I can't speak from experience and say to you guys, hey, I've used this for years and it's perfect, because I can't, it's new. So the only thing I can really base any confidence on is knowing the brand it's from, reading their books. I've done a review on their books, and check that out, because you get to appreciate how much time and effort and research actually goes into the products. So although I can't sit here and say, oh, I've used this for years, you should definitely try it, I feel more confident using this substrate than a lot of other ones that are out there at the moment. So anyway, I hope this review has helped. I would definitely recommend this if you were going to be doing a natural tank, or if you wanted to swap to a loose substrate. It hasn't caused any disturbance in Ziggy at all. She actually seemed really, really comfortable with it. And unfortunately I can't give you much of an update in terms of plant growth, because I kind of ruined that myself. I don't think that was the substrate, that was just me. But I'll definitely get used to spraying down the Leopard Gecko tanks. And I will, of course, use the substrate in the future for my other natural Leopard Gecko tanks that I hope to build at some point. So anyway, thank you for watching, guys, and goodbye.